In the year 1998, a transaction took place that the world was never supposed to scrutinize. For $7.9 million, a small piece of limestone in the Caribbean, known as Little St. James, became a sovereign anomaly. It wasn't just a purchase of land, it was the purchase of silence. Look at the coordinates: 18 degrees north, 64 degrees west. On the surface, it looked like a paradise for a billionaire. Palm trees, turquoise water, a neoclassical villa. But the blueprints, the real blueprints, told a different story. Most islands are built for relaxation. This island was built for logistics. High-capacity internet cables, where none should be. Industrial-grade power generators, sufficient to run a small hospital or a large data center. And a private security force, armed not for protection, but for total containment. The owner didn't just want a home. He wanted a jurisdiction where the laws of the mainland simply evaporated. The stone was laid, the gates were closed, and for the next 2 decades, the world's most powerful people vanished behind the line of 64 West. But the architecture, the very walls themselves, began to record the truth long before the cameras were ever turned on. At the highest point of the island stands the most photographed and least understood structure in the Caribbean: the temple. Architecturally, it is a nonsense. Neoclassical columns, a golden dome, but no windows. Why would a billionaire build a gym or a library with zero ventilation and zero natural light? The answer lies in the doors. Look at the frames. Witnesses and contractors reported that the massive brass doors were reinforced with heavy-duty locks on the outside. In architecture, a door locked from the outside is not for privacy. It is for confinement. But there was a second purpose. Hidden behind the decorative moldings was a sophisticated grid of fiber optic sensors. This wasn't a place of worship. It was a recording studio. Every room, every hallway, every shadow was monitored by a centralized server room located deep beneath the villa. In the world of high-stakes politics, the ultimate currency isn't gold, it's information. The temple was the engine, a machine designed to capture the weaknesses of the world's most powerful men and turn those weaknesses into permanent leverage. The architecture didn't just house the secrets, it manufactured them. To understand the true purpose of Little St. James, you must look deep beneath the limestone. Initial construction permits mentioned storage and utility basements, but the scale of excavation was disproportionate. Why would a private residence require industrial-grade power transformers capable of sustaining a 50-story skyscraper? The answer is stability. Underground, the island housed a data harvesting fortress. Thermal imaging from 2015 revealed massive heat signatures coming from the cliffside, where no buildings were supposed to exist. These were the exhaust vents for a cooling system designed to run 24/7. In the tropics, electronics fail within days without climate control. But here, the servers never stopped. And then there are the tunnels, not simple walkways, but reinforced concrete corridors designed for one-way traffic. Contractors who worked on the island spoke of the morgue. Large walk-in freezers installed in the lowest levels, accessible only by a single high-speed industrial elevator. What was being stored in a place where no autopsy could ever be performed? The architecture suggests a dual-purpose system: total digital surveillance and total physical concealment. A black hole where information goes in but never comes out. The end did not come with a bang. It came with a brush. Immediately after the owner's final arrest, the anatomy of the island began to change. Witnesses observed crews working through the night. They weren't just cleaning, they were dismantling. The iconic blue and white stripes of the temple were painted over in a sterile, clinical white. The high-tech domes were removed. The server racks, the very brain of the island, were hauled away on unmarked barges, long before the FBI reached the shore. The architecture was being ghosted. If the buildings are changed, the memories of the victims become harder to verify. If the tunnels are sealed with concrete, the evidence is buried under the weight of the Caribbean. Today, Little St. James is for sale again. The ads call it a private paradise, a luxury retreat. But the concrete does not forget. The lead lining in the walls is still there. The reinforced doors still have the marks of the locks on the outside. The world may have moved on, but the architecture of evil remains intact. A silent monument to a network that hasn't disappeared, but has simply relocated.